Welcome back. Now, the perception around credit usage is shifting. This as more and more people are waking up to the power of using credit responsibly, a tool for resilience. And according to Sanlam, over 50% of credit granted in South Africa is extended to women. Alet Griesel, CEO of Sanlam Credit Partnerships, joins us with more insight on the rise of responsible credit usage. Alet, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. Let's start by assessing the credit landscape and how things have changed when it comes to women accessing credit.
Afternoon, Atawaleng. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Yes, it's fascinating as when we look across South Africa and our history. Credit access in South Africa has also changed significantly. In the past, it was very skewed to certain demographics, and we've seen that change. And we can also understand why that has happened over time. As you've mentioned in your introduction, we see in the credit market around 50% of credit now being granted to women. And if we look at Stats SA's recent publication, 42.5% of households in South Africa are headed up by women and oftenly managed with single income. And you can see that for those women, credit is really a vital component on navigating life's realities. And that's where we see that they're embracing and they're making responsible decisions when it comes to credit.
I mean, in your presser, you mentioned something interesting, that credit follows income and the responsibility and not gender. I wonder then how much of an impact that has when it comes to, the gender pay gap and women accessing credit.
Significant. If we look at, there are various reports around the income gender, the gap around the world. It's not unique to South Africa.
Yeah.
And we see that it remains a reality. And that's why it is so important that we continue to ensure that access to credit follows responsibility and income. And it's not skewed to any demographics. We use the example of women here, but it goes broader. There are various demographics that's impacted.
And what are you seeing when it comes to then women and the use of credit? Because you just touched on responsible versus irresponsible use of credit. Let's just expand on that, and then we can go through the trends there in terms of product usages as well. Are we seeing a rise in credit cards? Are we seeing a rise in personal loans?
What we've seen is that there is a rise in home loan applications and your more secured credit. But when we talk about the pressures that people experience, it's maybe worth just mentioning Debtbusters recently brought out a publication where they mentioned the fact that, all of us know in South Africa that real income hasn't kept up with inflation. They made the comment that over the last 9 years, we are probably 49% poorer. In other words, our pay package can afford 49% less over the last 9 years. That's significant. So what we see is that customers in South Africa, or the public in South Africa, are using more unsecured credit. And it is often for unexpected medical emergencies, for example. If someone suddenly needs to go to a hospital, you need to access credit. We also see it for education. So I think that is something that is so significant in South Africa, that unsecured credit is used for. And if used correctly and responsibly, that is really a tool to create resilience.
You mentioned something important there from that Debtbusters report, when you said that most of us, 49% of many South Africans are now poorer than they were, right? And then I wonder how that works into paying off your loans then. Are we seeing defaults coming through? Are people paying on time?
What we are educating more and more is to say that credit can be used for good. If credit is used responsibly, and as a consumer, I also take responsibility for my decisions when it comes to credit. As a responsible credit provider, we have to ensure that based on all the information we receive, we assess and make sure that you can afford the debt. It's also always important to remember, for a credit provider, there's no upside in granting credit to an individual we know can never repay. But with responsible credit, if you take control of your finances and you apply for a loan that you know you can repay, that can be used for good.
All right. And Alet, we've also been seeing a really significant rise within the informal credit market. And I wonder, what are big financial institutions doing about this? Because it's unsecure, it's the interest rates are ridiculous, and we are then seeing many South Africans becoming poorer and poorer on the back of that. I mean, I had a conversation with an analyst from Old Mutual where they've noted that no one has seen where the two-part withdrawals have gone, and many are alluding that it could perhaps have went into the informal market.
That is a great concern, and it's a link from responsible financial institutions. What we are trying to do is to make the public more and more aware of the fact that we do provide these unsecured loans and access to credit responsibly. Engage with us. And that's also a trend that we've seen over years changing, is how customers start to choose more digital engagements, which is also broadening the market. I heard you talking this morning on your business reports about Spotify. And as individuals, we are engaging more digitally with most services in our lives, music, shopping, and we see the same trend happening in the financial institutions.
All right then, Alet, thanks so much for your time and just walking us through some of the trends playing out in the credit market, and how we are seeing women using and whether they are accessing credit responsibly. Thanks so much. Now that was Alet Griesel, CEO of Sanlam Credit Partnerships.